Alright, Sidra, so here's your first run video. Remember, we're going to look at the center line, we're looking at your hip drop and arm swing on this particular, and your ankle pronation, okay? So go ahead and just watch it. I'll let it run for you. Okay, so as you saw, Sidra, the main thing that we're seeing here is, of course, we're going to go ahead and put this center line always right there. You see in this stance right here, you're halfway across that center line. And as we come up like this, we always want to see a nice gap between your feet. This just tells you that you're running on a tightrope when you have a nice broad surface to run on all the time, but we're crossing over a little bit. And you see the very high acute angle here. So off 180, that's 16 degrees of pronation. We only want no more than 8, so 3 to 6 is really good. This is 16 degrees off 180. Okay, so a lot of torque in your ankle. Plus, we talked about this shoe, the back of it called the counter is not very supportive, and then we also want to stay low profile and wide so you don't have a taller platform to fall off. But just moving your foot out is going to change that. And as you see the other one coming up here, it's the same thing. Okay, another big 14 degrees, so not as much, but it's very similar. The next thing we look at up here is we look at your hips. Once we put your weight bearing on your right leg right there, this muscle should maintain the height within a 3-degree drop. You see right there how watch the hip just drop way down, 6.1. That requires you to strengthen the lateral support system in the hip, which we talked about. And I'll send the pictures with the bands as well, the things we went over. The second thing we look up on here is the arm swing. Are we swinging across the body using your rotation, or are we just pumping the arms back and forth, which would be a little bit more normal? And you see that your arm's pretty much hidden. It's off to this direction. Not the worst case. Your arms aren't a big problem, Sidra. Sometimes people a little worse. But you can see and hear that you're twisted quite a bit. Now, there is a twisting that goes on in normal running, but we want to limit that. We want a tight lateral abs and tight core so that the energy is not absorbed in the twist and transferred right back to the floor. So the more movement you get, the less efficient you are. And that's kind of the story. Again, we're going to see your post run here in a little bit with the bigger gap. So let's go to the next video. I'll pause this and move to the next. All right, so here's your next one. This is your gravity weight line, and this was your first run, and we're going to look to whether you have a locked leg, if you're striking out too far in front, how straight you are depending on the speed you're running. So let's go ahead and play this. And then of course you can kind of tell you're striking, you're doing the heel toe rotation, which we talked to you about the forces. But you have a very athletic run, which is really good. Your toes do point out, remember that, so we don't want to change that, what they call retroversion. You have introverted and retroverted. There you go. So when we go back on this, the first main thing is as we come up with our leg, you see, boom, the initial contact is right there. The leg is very straight, okay? Second right leg comes up in the air, same thing, boom, hit right there. So toes are pulling really hard. Remember, that's asking you to require you to contract your anterior tibialis soleus muscle, which is not good when you have 2.5 times the body weight slamming the ground, and that's under contraction. So we want to relax that foot and toe. It's a mental thing you'll have to work with. That right there is where you're supposed to strike. When we do the bend, we're going to do this here, and we want a 30 degree to 38 degree bend in the knee. That's 33 degrees off 180. Do you see that? That's let the quad absorb it. That takes pressure off of back, and it's got the best reactionary result when your leg is impacted with a slight bend. You're ready to fire right out of that. So versus straight up in the air, see how straight it is at impact? And then the foot should drop flat underneath your gravity line. There you go. Let's see the other one come up. Let's go through this for a second. Okay, so what we're showing you here is, let's see, right there. When you impact right there, this gravity line drawn forward is in front of you, which means the result of energy responding back to you, every reaction causes an opposite reaction. At least this reaction is in front of you, and anything in front of you is going to assist your run, versus right here is where you're striking. And if we do this one, this force is going to go right through the bottom of your leg, right up, and it's going to be right there behind you. And that is behind your gravity line, which means it's going to push against you. So you're essentially braking every time you run. And then you also watch your shoulders here. Watch kind of, you're not bad with them, but see how they kind of raise up a little bit. You got that angle going, so you're not releasing your arm. Instead, your body is bringing your arms in front, which is creating that swag from right arm's going to come up and across, and so that left leg is going to counter-react, and then you're going to end up swinging this right leg over to counter-react, and instead of going in front of you, it's coming over to the center line. Let's go to your next video. Sidra, here you are running now with, as you see here, you can see a gap between your feet sometimes. See that? That's because you've spread a little bit. Look at that. Those are good steps. Now you're going back. That's all right. You're going to do that periodically. There you go. Very good. And if you look at your feet really closely, you're still slightly hitting the heel. Not quite as aggressive, but you'll see your toe. Watch your toe. Look how pointed up it is. Okay? But see this gap right there where you just stopped? That's what you want. You want to have a straighter angle. Remember, the more this angle goes from the socket of your leg here, there's the outside here, you want this thing to be more of a straight line. You don't want it to come over. That's going to torque out your hips and torque the inside of your ankle. So you're just going to learn to picture that imaginary line and keep working one cue at a time. Okay? So let's look at your side view with your other one. I'll pause you. Okay, here you go, Cedra. This is you running a little smoother, and you're just kind of flapping your midfoot, which is pretty good. I also like the fact that you got a much better bend in the knee. So let's go back to this last gate right here. Let's watch your right leg come up in the air. Boom, you hit right there. Now, the good thing is you do have a bend in your knee, and at least at this point, your gravity line is neutral. So if we run this right through the bottom of the leg, you see it's slightly in front. And that's good. That's beneficial for you. But I like how you have the bend in the knee at impact. You're kind of flat. You see your toe contracted, but that's okay. Remember how your hands are flat? If you just run them in front of you, but shovel back and forth like this, your feet will learn to follow, as well as continue to look down. Now, you are a very straight up and down runner. This runner here is in the proper, but he's at a 7-minute mile pace, so of course he's going to lean more. But try to just allow your body from your ankle point, so right there at your ankle, right at that push off, just allow the leg to trail behind you. I'm going to show you what it looks like here. This is where your feet want to run. Down and then in this pathway. What most people will do is they'll run like this in this pathway, okay? You just got to learn when you have the right lean, so when your body is just kind of like out like that, not quite as much as that, but similar, then this pathway will be easier to do. And it's about learning to trust the fall when you start your run, okay? Well, anyways, you did pretty good. I'm impressed because you in most of these cases, you did what you needed to do. So you look pretty efficient with your run. You just sit and look at that. So you're going to practice on those several cues that we gave you, and you'll have it in no time at all. Remember, force yourself quicker, shorter steps at first. Don't try to overreach in the beginning. You'll get better at that. So a quicker, shorter gait is better. All right, dear, I'll send this off with some exercises. Thank you.